Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We're looking at a game today on Mudfight, and I'm playing as the Polish, but specifically as the Polish Airborne. So we have, on a bit of a dare from my friend Loing, decided to go with an Airborne specialty Poland deck that I highly don't recommend to anyone. Our heaviest tank is the 15-point PT-76B Descent, which doesn't even really qualify as a fire support vehicle in my opinion. And I knew my only hope with this, he's playing as the French, would be to grab some forward ground quickly and hold it. So my intention is to hold Dmitry, Anna, Center, and Boris, and just grind out a slow victory on the points. The Mi-2 USs are 20-point autocannon helicopters that are just going in as a bit of a distraction and immediately find a Protal, because, well, Loing knew that I was playing as an airborne deck, so it's not exactly going to be all that great. I send in a Helo Hunter aircraft, but it also gets shot down. Just look at that salvo of missiles coming from this town that I probably should have expected, yet kind of didn't. In the meantime, all of our ground forces are moving up toward Anna, and I have dropped forward troops as well. So we have here Formosa. I'm not sure I love those guys. I prefer special forces with tank weapons to ones with frag rounds. We also have two Sokols and a Salamandra. But I'm getting a little bit micro-stressed here as I try to attack with a Sokol, move my Commandosi up into the woods, get something done here in the center in Dmitry, as well as push toward Anna, and most importantly, we are getting some pretty nice shots there on the eastern side up toward Elena, up toward my opponent's home zone. Sokol's proving their worth, the Salamandra also making great use of those rockets. There's an AMX-13 Wolnoa, but one of the things that is very quickly apparent is that isolated AA pieces a little too close to ATGM capable helicopters don't always do the best work. So that group of three is headed up. The Mi-24Ds should have been with them, but they weren't because I overlooked it, so that is entirely my fault. And now we are about to get minced as we take out a command vehicle, which was absolutely beautiful, but because we weren't shooting at that AA piece first, it does manage to open up, as does another. That looks like a Protal there in the woods, and there goes our squad. And Mi-24D is going to follow that fate rather quickly thereupon. So if we take a look at what's going on, I have a Salamandra. I'm starting to get BRDM-2s out as scout vehicles just to look at what's happening here. But I have decapped my opponent's home zone. In fact, he has only one command vehicle left, and it's somewhere, I think it was in the back there. It might have been coming up. No, it was moved from Feder. So he had capped Elena and Feder. I killed his CV and Elena, and so he's moving it back and trying to cap there. However, I don't have the strength to push. I've taken a relatively bad points exchange here at the start, lost a lot of expensive helicopters for not much gain. We can see as well the Mi-24Ds. Probably should have sent them over, up, and around. Oh, apologize, we have a new cat. And she's very vocal. But I probably should have sent them farther away and then brought them back up on the west side of Elena, but I didn't because I was really trying to spot and snipe one more CV. So those two go down, and that's a lot of points wasted there as well. So I do see some troop movements up here, and this is just, I mean, I've completely forgotten to spread these guys out, so I have a bunch of 15-point fire support vehicles that are just now getting spread out through Anna. What I want to do here is I want to hold this absolutely and completely, so that if I lose a corner of it, everything else can respond. But there is a push incoming, and it's coming through right down the pipe exactly where I don't want it to be, moving up towards center, and I can't. So I was zooming in, that looked like an IFV, the previous looked like a Protal, so I figured it's probably a pair of a scout vehicle and a Protal moving up there, and I didn't actually see this one coming as well. That's the cheaper AA piece, but yep, so something shooting there. Maybe a tank, which could be an AMX tank. My BTR-40 is well and truly outmatched, both of them going down. Commandosi, we're moving up. This was supposed to be a bit of a distraction and hit, so we do snipe one with the Salamandra. However, there comes AA fire, and down goes the Salamandra. Commandosi not able to close the gap with fire from a VAB and everything there. However, we do get one last shot off before we die, and at least that's a vehicle kill. Probably the AMX, actually, so 40 points worth there. Rocket planes go in to try to get retribution, don't actually kill either of their targets, and there's the AA fire once again, taking down one of those 50-point planes. There's also, now for the first time that we see coming out, a Rafale, which is right here. Yep, Rafale CF1. Potentially second, or that's a bomber. Looks like a bomber. Yep. And we'll have to see if this Strelza can get the kill. It's 1 hit and 2. So, I mean, that's a good trade, Strelza for a Mirage. I have more of the Strelzas than he has Mirages, and these are just 45 point, bread and butter type AA net. No radar, nothing fancy, but they'll get the job done if things get too close. And not really for that high of a cost either. So, in the meantime, I have a line of Descents, just meant to provide light fire against, IFVs, infantry, light support vehicles, things like that. And we are now, well, thought we were, but no, not quite. Moving up a lot of AA pieces, and that's just because it's one of those know your enemy type deals where I fully expected helicopters to be pushing back, and planes to be pushing back. I was expecting to get kind of bombed out of existence if I didn't make it well and truly known that, yeah, no, that won't work. They will get shot down. There's nothing you can do about it. So let's go up to speed 2 for a minute. If we take a look, this is why I don't love Formosa. So the Formosa are where they're supposed to be. Well, I guess arguably not. But they're going in with frag launchers against a Brennus and an AMX-10, and it's just not a good engagement. So if they were Iroquois right now, they would have already killed that. If they were any number, if they were Delta Force, they would have killed that by now. And the first Brennus at least would be dead. And the AMX that snuck past him would also probably have been dead as well. As it is, this Brennus is actually going to completely wipe out my Formosa because they can't make it through. So, Seedplane does come in and gets a cheeky kill on an Old Noir, only 35 points worth of value though, so not a lot of value there, especially considering I think I only have 2 of those Seedplanes, I'm not entirely sure. W3T Sokals will get a little bit of work done there. I should have attack moved, I didn't really see it at the time, to be honest. Oh, it does look like they get them done. Oh, maybe? Come on. There it is. And keep going. So, really kind of not great. My forward elements have been largely destroyed, and I was relying on sort of choking out this part of the map here, making sure my opponent couldn't really reinforce into it too much without doing a push somewhere else. However, we are a little bit short up in center. My plan was basically, if I saw a big push here, respond with helicopters, bombers, ATGM planes, things like that. So this is just to stop the immediate helicopter rush and to get a good scout to see if I can find ground forces moving up. MiG-29 does get a nice kill on that Mirage that was trying to gun run our Sokals. Really not a great choice of plane there, but outside of an airborne deck, sometimes your options can be a little bit limited. So now we have a little bit of stalemate, so I will forward through that some, and yep, there goes the rest of the Formosa. I think the Brennus just kind of didn't realize they were still there. And these AMXs, I believe, are about to take out our Sokals. But, I'm pulling out a CV headed toward either Dimitri or Anna. I'm looking to lock down both of these because we are a little bit on the weak side here, but my opponent doesn't really seem to realize that. There have been no thrusts from this town. There's really been no serious thrusts through the center after that first initial skirmish. And, I mean, hey, if he's going to let me sit here and get points, then I'm just going to sit there and get points. And in the meantime, I can do things like bring in an MI7, which is an absurdly expensive helicopter, to bring in weapons teams, but we are going to bring in an ATGM weapons team. So, double squad conquers M, I believe. Not exactly top of the line, but it's not terrible. And I do spot this Logistique coming forward, and that tells me, okay, there's a fair amount there, probably a lot of AA. And this was not exactly subtle, so my opponent moving over 3 Gazelle Celtics, and I think to myself, okay, there's going to be probably infantry coming through here, there's going to be probably a couple helicopters coming through here. Lowing doesn't tend to like to use heavy tanks because I kill them really quickly whenever he does. I know smoke is a good counter tool against that, but that's just the state of our current meta. The Strelzas are moving forward, and the Celtics are trying to get a kill on my Mi-17 transport planes. But there's one shot and one Gazelle going down, second shot, second Gazelle going down, and these guys really travel. I mean, look at that. They've technically already been shot down, but they're just spinning out of control all the way over, so much so that I moved with Commandozi, because helicopters crashing can injure your troops. And yep, not Conquers M, just Conquers. 20 points each, 40 points for the squad, so the helicopters are actually more expensive by a fair margin. 70 points for the helicopters, 40 points for what I wanted. Which is usually the sign of a bad airborne deck, if I do say so myself, and part of why I don't think Polish airborne is particularly strong. Or at least not particularly ideal. However, I did want those Conquerors up there to deal with any sort of armored threats, or sort of a slow, grindy push that my opponent here might do to try to wear me down. We also have AA infantry coming forward as well, just making a hard point on this town because I may as well. He's let me have it now for long enough that this is significantly better defended than it otherwise could have been. And I'm beginning to think, okay, well my opponent, I don't think he realized how many of my troops he killed at the start. I don't think he realized how thin I was spread at the start, and he kind of failed to use that dynamic phase of the game to his advantage. Instead, I was able to get board control, and that has paid dividends as we are getting now +1, headed up to 85 points out of 500. There is another Gazelle Celtic coming over, and notice this about its trajectory. So the first 3 were headed up toward this corner. This one is headed past. So if you track that forward, it looks like it's coming over into this corner, and I don't have good eyes there. I don't have a good scout helicopter, so I immediately get some cheap helicopters out to cover it, a Salamandra scout helicopter to go forward, and Mi-17s to try to find anything that might be hiding there. In addition to seeing the troops on the ground, which does tell me there should be an infantry push that I should be expecting here. The Gazelle Celtics, of course, are carrying Mistrals, and so my expensive 35-point helicopters do get pretty well beaten up, but Celtic goes down to the Strelza, and now a Concours is opening up very, very well on these transports. Probably AMXs. Oop, that was a little bit weird with the audio. Mi-17's getting their licks in, I suppose, but it's really the ATGM that does the final work there. And let's speed up a little bit as well. So we fended off sort of 2 thrusts toward Anna, although I wouldn't necessarily say that they were fully developed thrusts at the time. And I'm just not even touching Fetter. This is open ground. My opponent's French deck is non-specialized, which means I'll be fighting through heavy tanks, heavy vehicles, tools that I don't really have a parallel to in order to get that nice engagement. But Zwidosi, and these guys I do like very much. I kind of wish I'd sent them up instead of the Formosa earlier. And now they do carry an RPG-7. It's absurdly short range. Well, no. Okay, I thought it was the 525. It's a low AP power, 14 AP, but 700 meters, and that's more than enough in the woods because usually your visibility is limited to about 200 to 400 meters depending on the optics. That's just a fact of forests, I guess. So it could be a little bit different, but it's roundabout correct. We have an Entendant coming in, and now we've exposed an AMX-10 RC. So the BTR-40s are doing their job. They're letting me know that thing is there. And the Entendants do, fortunately, miss my Zwidosi. These are also scout infantry, so here I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I come up to the left, I think I can get that AMX-10 within range of my anti-tank weapons from the Zwidosi, which would, by the way, pay for the entire squad with a single kill. AMX-10 RCs are, of course, 40 points, and the Zwidosi being 20 apiece in a dual squad, that'd be a pretty nice trade. We do also catch a VBL Mistral moving over, and this Descent is just not anywhere close to... Well, okay, I take that back. If a 15-point tool can get the job done, then 15-point tool is all you need. So, MX-10 RC did catch a little bit of frontal fire from the BTR-40, and firing computer reset is the only thing keeping him alive. As there goes the Zwidosi's RPGs, and yeah, that's the scout vehicle down. So we have sort of blinded my opponent a little bit on this side, and aware of that, I'm now starting to move up a helicopter flank of my own. We are ticking now at +2, which means that this game is really well in hand for us, comparatively anyway. Mi-17 gets shot down, so the Mi-2 is taking an even longer route, and we do manage to shoot down not 1, but 2, both of the bombers that were sent in, losing only a descent or 2 for our trouble. I believe 2. We lost 1 here, we lost 1 there, which does expand my opponent's zone of control around this town. Probably scout infantry in there as well. By this point, I would certainly expect that. But, I mean, I would make that trade for 2 bombers. It's 100 points kills versus 30 points losses, which, hey, I've got no complaints. We also have... here it is. So, Puma Pirates coming in. Puma Pirates as well here, I think. And the Salamandra is not made to fight these. We don't have any air-to-air weaponry on the Salamandra. It's specifically an anti-ground tool. The other pirates do get stunned and nearly killed by my Zwidosi, but they do manage to get over there, and this Puma Pirate's trying to unload, which would be pretty catastrophic. Strelzas do take care of the other group, so that's a really expensive loss for lowing, but when these touch down, this is the fatal mistake, because now the Salamandra can open up with his rocket pods, mulching one of those Commandos Para, can open up with those with the ATGMs, the Kokon Ms, to take down the helicopters as well, because when helicopters are on the ground, they count as vehicles, and they can be targeted. Commandos Para do survive, 5 of them left, and they do kill another Descent. The Salamander is moving up aggressively to use the last 8 of those rocket pods, and this should be pretty nice. Well, MI-AT stole the kill, which, I actually didn't realize that at the time, that's why I zoomed in on this guy, but seeing it now, kind of makes sense. He was a little bit too close and was actually nearly shot down by those Commandos Para. So, yeah, helicopters, surprisingly bad at killing infantry up close. But, well, here we have something a little bit odd as well. I was starting to get quite a lot of points, but I didn't want to use it on anything that was too high-end because I wanted to keep a decent reserve, so whenever I had a couple too many, I would just pull out another pair of Descents to move up here, and so long as they're not spotted, this build-up is relatively in secret. So now we have a Brennus and probably another Brennus or AMX, yep, Brennus and AMX-10 moving up toward us, and I think that is the perfect opportunity to pressure my opponent. So he's attacking me, and I'm going to use that to pull away his attention and make him worse at responding to my own aggression. In addition, our MI2s are able to get some kills in that back area, but the PTR Concours, 70-point kill right off the bat. We still do have eyes on the AMX-10, and additionally, these guys are sort of camping the spawn, killing a Milan, and cutting down on my opponent's reinforcements, which all of that is good for me, bad for him, and that's how I like it to be. The Descents are incredibly slow and sort of lagging behind the BRDM-2s. This was not the most well-organized push, not to say the least, on the west. But I'm hoping that we can get at some of the ooey-gooey bits like that Crotal and really punish my opponent's forward positioning here. Another Brennus getting targeted by Concours, but we've now run out of missiles completely because my resupply vehicles were not in place. So these have to move up a little bit further. Their radius is not quite sufficient as it stands. And because of that, that Brennus is still alive, and the Entente is going to come in and kill two. Rocket infantry showing, rocket planes showing their worth, but quickly dying to a Rafale, and now things are starting to really heat up. So we have a MiG coming in, loses the Rafale, but then the Rafale gets absolutely mulched by a Grom and doubles Thraza. We do lose our BRDM-2, and with it, all of our eyes in the forward part of Dmitry, and that is a big problem, as there's a P4 PC coming in, trying to stem the bleeding from that +2 points advantage that's been going on for so long in this game. It is still at a +1 because I have secured Anna, but if I lose that, it won't be for very long. And the Descents are actually getting a fair number of kills. So we did, in fact, had to manually target their resupply vehicles and Gazelle cannons on Tondars coming in. But this push, I mean, each one of these is 30 points, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 210 points, and with that we've got at least 150 points of kills and a really good distraction, plus my opponent having to purchase more troops to go in besides, which means they're not coming over toward Dmitry. This is counter-capped, but I have eyes on something here, and I did zoom up during. You can kind of see the unit type when you do that, and these are in fact infantry, which is why my Conquerors team, even with ammunition, is not able to open up. Seaplane coming in, and I don't think my opponent realized I don't have any radar AA in this deck, but a Conqueror shooting at my Strelza does draw very quick return fire, and down he goes. Now the Descents still pulling attention, and a rocket pod plane coming in, absolutely wrecking those Legionnaire, and I'm feeling pretty confident because there's not much here that's really defending that P4 PC, so why not attack it? This is a little bit over-aggressive, and we do get punished for that. AA missiles coming out of the woods there, but able to kill another AMX, so that's a decent trade. A little bit under our points value, but I'm not too bothered by it. And I think at this point, my friend and I were kind of talking, it's starting to look like it's a little bit over. There's a Tiger Had that's coming out, and that is a wonderful counter. Should have come out sooner. Would have mulched all of those Descents pretty well. But Conqueror's getting more kills, BRDM-2 moving up, and there's the P4 PC. First, both of them are a miss, I swear. ATGM teams, man. But there's the kill. Now we're back to +2 with 330 points. And my opponent's attempts have not been successful thus far. So, 2 Vavs, and I didn't know if these were empty or if they were carrying infantry. It turns out they were empty, but I had no way of knowing this. So I do send a Salamander to respond in addition to that Conquerors team, and I'm bringing a second Conquerors team as well, just hoping to double the firepower and provide a little bit of redundancy in case I do lose some of my stuff there. So, Brennis wandering into the forest with these descents, and it's a bit of a surprising ending, because it turns out, at close range, numbers sometimes tell. So the descents with their mighty, horrible guns do get a 70-point tank kill. So I do see charging the town. I had seen that there were AA missiles coming out of here, and I wanted to see if they weren't defended, if I could maybe use my shock infantry to get some kills. But Chasseurs are able, with support from the Mistrals of all squads, to fend them off. Mistrals do, of course, have 5 strength, which means that they are better than your average AA weapons team at fending off other infantry, especially when supported by something like Chasseurs. So the Zwidosi are, unfortunately, on the retreat. I was expecting a bomber to come out here, and I think it does shortly, but now we're just getting more eyes out in the field, with BRDM2s moving up. Kind of normal operations at this point, I guess. And we do have a bit more of a staring match. This is one of the main differences I found from when I play with my friend group versus competitive play. The few ranked games that I've done as a World League Corporal, they all feel much faster, and I think that's because people don't play with as entrenched positions. It's more of an attempt to get those forward zones right off the bat, and that means throwing everything you've got at the meat grinder and hoping something sticks. What this usually means is even if something goes right, now you don't have a lot of security because, well, odds are lots of your men also died. You have to replace your front line, you have to worry about your flanks as well, and there's just too much all the time. As opposed to if you have a static position, Strelza missing 1, 2, 3 shots in a row, are you kidding me? That just hurts my soul a little. But because we tend to be more of a get established than big pushes, that doesn't tend to happen too much when I just play with my own friend group here. My Conquerors team, unfortunately, is completely mulched by... just thought that's a helicopter over there. It's one of the Tiger series that I hadn't realized was there, but he saw those die, and so is testing me again with more empty fabs. Oh, not empty. Not empty at all, and that was actually a really good macro on Loving's part. So if one of those Conquerors missiles had hit that Vab before the Legion got out, there'd probably only be about 12 Legion left, maybe even less than that. My Conquerors, unfortunately, out of ammunition once more, not able to get the work done. So BRDM2 is moving up, and I want more scouts in position. And I finally called in an Mi-24W. This is an 85 points tank, strictly worse, I believe, than Tiger had, although really not too terrible either. We do spy another P4PC moving up, but these guys, I want the Legion dead first. I've switched the Conquerors team with Commandozi to give them a hard front to be walking into, so that should hopefully be good. And here comes the Mi-24W. Rocket pods, and that's a nice minigun opening up, making short work of very, very expensive infantry that should never have been in the open like that. I do finally spot the Tiger had and know what it is, so I know it's more than just rockets coming out of the abyss here. And I do call in a resupply helicopter. One of the benefits of doing a national deck is you often have the points left over to take these in your logistics tab, and they really are great when you need it now, and you really needed those supplies yesterday. So I am hoping to resupply my Conquerors here, and the Tiger had opening up, fending off a BRDM2 that had tried to scout it, and now I have a Strelza moving up to hopefully get the edge there. But here's the thing, the Hot 2 missiles have the same range as the Strelzas, so he was able to fire back at me as well, and I really just got lucky there, being able to take him down first. So, 450 points, and that's really going to be all she wrote. I think at one point Lowing might just take everything and tell it to attack move, but we're largely done here. As the Conquerors get resupplied, Dimitri's resecured, and the front is as strong as it needs to be for the next, I don't know, about 30 seconds left remaining in the game. We will take a look briefly at the kills and losses, because I think there were a couple of things that were decently interesting. So give me just one moment there. And here we are. So kills and losses. I got 2765 in kills, 2130 in losses, and the thing I'd like to point out is that the later part of the game was really heavily tilted in my favor in terms of the kills-losses ratio, which kind of, I think, supports that my opponent had an advantage at the beginning in terms of kills that he didn't necessarily take advantage of as well as he maybe could have. Still, wonderful game, a lot of fun, many thanks to my friend Lowing. Before this game started, I declared this Polish Airborne deck would lose to no Frenchman, so he couldn't resist, unfortunately. Salamandra, always a wonderful unit, getting a lot of good kills with those ATPMs. These Sokals, I believe, are the transport infantry, the infantry transport ones, the W3Ws, not the AA ones, which I really didn't have too much use for this game. Concourse getting an absolute ton of kills as well. Strelza's doing pretty well. P4PC, interesting. Zwidosi, yeah, AMX 10s. I really wish I'd had Zwidosi up instead of the, oh, what are they called? I can find them here. Not Commandosi, the Scout Special Forces team. The ones that just died in a horrible, horrible fire. Formosa, right, Formosa. But, yeah, that's all we've got for today. Thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.